Okay, so you're ready to really dive into budgeting. Not just spreadsheets and numbers, but like how to actually feel more in control of your money, maybe even a little excited about your finances.
And what's so interesting about the stuff you've been looking at is how much it focuses on the psychology of it all.
Hmm,
Like why we spend the way we do, not just telling us to save more.
totally. And speaking of why, everyone's talking about this 50-30-20 rule. What do you think made it so popular?
It's simple and balanced, right?
Mm.
Easy for people to get their heads around. You split your income needs, wants, savings, clear starting point.
So 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings, and paying off debt. Sounds kind of simple, but I'm guessing there's more to it.
Oh yeah, it's a good framework, but you got to be honest with yourself. What's a real need versus just something you want? That's trickier than it sounds.
Let's break it down then. 50% for needs. But that's not just like staying alive, right? It's bigger than that.
Exactly. It's about the choices you make, your lifestyle. Like everyone needs a place to live, but a studio apartment versus a four-bedroom house. Huge difference in your budget. That's where the thinking comes in.
Makes sense. Then there's the 30% for wants, the fun stuff. But that can get blurry too, huh?
All the time. We tell ourselves that a want is actually a need, just to feel better about spending. That latte every morning. You might feel like it's essential, but honestly, it's a want.
Gotta be honest with ourselves. And then there's that last 20% for savings and debt. That's playing the long game.
Absolutely. This is the foundation. Emergency fund, paying down high interest debt, investing in your future, all that important stuff.
What I'm getting is 50-30-20 isn't about cutting yourself off. It's about being aware, making choices that actually line up with what you value now and down the road.
It's all about understanding why those percentages work, right?
Totally. And our sources are packed with tips to make them work for you. One thing that kept coming up, and I'll admit, this one's tough for me, is tracking your spending.
Ooh.
Right.
Like if you don't know what you're spending, how can you control it? Can't manage what you don't measure or something like
So
that.
true. It's easy to do that optimistic budget. We estimate based on our best intentions, not what we actually do.
Totally. We think we're being good, then bam, we've spent a fortune eating out or on random little things. It sneaks up on you.
For sure. Any advice on how to track spending without feeling like it's a chore? That's where I get lost.
Oh, there are so many good tools now. Apps, if you're into that. Spreadsheets are classic. Even just taking a few minutes a week to go through your bank statements.
Finding a system that works for you, that's key. And sticking with it, of course.
Consistency is everything. And speaking of consistent high-interest debt, got to
Oh,
tackle that.
the credit card trap. One source called it the snowball effect. What's that mean exactly?
It's like the unpaid interest, it gets added to what you already owe, and then they charge you interest on that too. Like trying to run away from an avalanche, the longer it goes, the worse it gets.
So paying that down fast is crucial. Frees up more money in the long run.
You got it. Plugs up a major leak in your finances.
Now, this one's interesting, and I'm curious to know what you think. A lot of the sources talked about no-spend challenges.
Oh, yeah, those can be powerful. Like hitting reset on your habits really makes you think differently about money.
So it's like you pick a time period and just don't spend on non-essentials at all.
Exactly. Forces you to figure out what you really need versus just want. You'd be surprised what you discover you can live without.
Some people do a week, some a whole month, right?
Yeah.
What's a good amount of time?
Up to you. Depends on your goals, how comfortable you are pushing yourself a little. A week is a good way to dip your toes in. But a month, you can really make some changes in that time.
Right, right. So we've talked about tracking and debt, but there's the other side of the coin too, making more money.
Now we're talking. There are so many options these days to diversify your income. It's kind of exciting when you think about it.
Love that our sources focused on that. It's not just decide about cutting back, but bringing more in too.
Right. Could be freelancing,
Mm.
a side hustle, even just selling stuff you don't need anymore online.
You've got options, and having more to work with makes a difference.
For sure. And, once you get into all this, you might find that 50-30-20 rule, it's a good start, but getting even more detailed helps.
You mean like a really specific budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like zooming in on a map. 50-30-20 is the big picture, but your budget gets into the nitty-gritty. More control that way.
Instead of just groceries as a category, it's supermarket, eating out, work lunches, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You see where the money's really going, then you can adjust if you need to.
Love it. Okay, so one more thing from these sources that I thought was brilliant because, let's face it, most of us are on autopilot with our money. Automating your savings.
Ah, the pay yourself first strategy. Classic for a reason. It's so effective. You set it up once, and then you don't even have to think about it.
It's like the money just disappears before you can spend it.
Out of sight, out of mind. Except in this case, it's a good thing. Future you will thank you.
Built-in safety net. I like it. And while we're talking automation, how often should we be checking on those subscriptions, recurring payments, all that?
Well, those can get out of control fast. Those little amounts add up over time if you're not careful.
Tell me about it. Streaming services, apps. It's crazy how many we end up with.
Take care of the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. That's what my grandma always said. Keep an eye on the small stuff.
And of course, we can't forget the unexpected. Having that emergency fund is huge.
Absolutely. Life happens, right? Flat tire, medical bills, who knows what. Better to be prepared than panicked.
Seriously, knowing you've got a buffer, even a small one, makes a huge difference. Less stress.
Totally. Gives you room to breathe, think clearly when you need to.
Speaking of thinking clearly, how do we avoid those impulse purchases? We all make them.
Oh, for sure. The sources had some good tips for that. One is the 24-hour rule. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah. It's like if you're about to buy something but you don't absolutely need it, you wait a full day, see if you still want it then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Time to cool off, make sure it's not just a whim. Maybe you find a better deal in the meantime. Who knows?
Love it. Simple but effective. Oh, another one they mentioned was the envelope system. Feels kind of old school now, but I can see why it works.
It's a classic. And it works because it's so visual. You decide how much cash you can spend in each category, like groceries, going out, whatever. Then you put that cash in envelopes, one for each thing.
So you literally see how much is left. No more, oh, I'll just put it on the credit card.
Nope. Envelope's empty. You're done for the month. Real eye-opener.
For sure. Okay, switching gears a bit. Our sources also talked about being smart shoppers, cashback, discounts, all that.
Gotta love free money, right? So many ways to do it now. Credit card rewards, those cashback websites, even just asking for a discount sometimes works.
Little wins add up, makes you feel good, like you're using your money wisely.
Absolutely. It all comes back to being intentional.
So we covered a lot today. Tracking, earning more, outsmarting those impulse buys. Feels like budgeting is not about going without. It's about making choices that feel right for you.
100%. It's your money, your plan, your goals.
Which brings us to the last piece, the thing that holds it all together, goals.
Gotta have them. Otherwise, what's it all for, right? It's too easy to lose motivation.
Like that saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Not helpful with money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Emergency fund, paying off a loan, down payment on a house, whatever it is, having that goal makes budgeting way more exciting.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about what those numbers represent. Your dreams, your future.
Your budget becomes a tool to get you there. It's pretty cool when you think about it that way. Not a restriction, but a way to be free.
Love that. So to everyone listening, starting your budgeting journey, don't aim for perfect, aim for progress. That's what matters.
Make those good choices, little by little. Adjust as you go. And celebrate those wins.
Who knows? You might even find budgeting's not so bad after all. In fact, it could be the key to a life you absolutely love. More money, less stress, what's not to love?